Look, we're going to run through five speakers, but I just sort of make a few quick opening comments, and then we'll introduce Deputy Prime Minister. The reason we're all here this morning, I think, apart from perhaps the breakfast, is because we all share a very strong interest in the development and growth of this country. And we also, I think, by definition then, given that it is New Zealand, share a great interest in how we both develop and protect our natural resource endowment. And that is actually a challenge the world over. And I was sitting with Councillor Li Yu last night from China, and they face exactly the same challenge. Yes, they're massively different in size. Yes, they start from different points. Yes, they have different pressures. But again, the conversation turned very quickly to how do we continue to develop our country? How do we continue to grow the incomes of our people while also improving their quality of life and the quality of the environment? And so it was fascinating having that conversation, because you would have assumed that we were two similar-sized countries with two similar-sized geographies by the way the conversation unfolded, where of course it couldn't be further from the difference couldn't be further from the truth. So this particular part of the business growth agenda is, I believe, very, very important. And it's important that actually we use this opportunity to continue a dialogue which has been going on for some time, and actually move that dialogue in a more positive direction. The business growth agenda has been going on for a couple of years in various forms, but this year what we did is take the decision that we were going to bring it into a shape that could allow a full dialogue with particularly the business community. Fundamental truth is that if we are going to have more and better paying jobs in this country, then we need more businesses to invest in jobs here. And that requires a focus on the elements that businesses need to be successful. So we have put together reports in 6 areas, which are fundamentally the 6 key elements that you need for business success: export markets, innovation, skilled and safe workplaces, infrastructure, natural resources, and one to come, which is capital markets. And the very first report laid out a challenge to grow our exports from 30 to 40% of GDP. And in various ways, all the other reports have been drawn from that. And the short answer is you're not going to do it by focusing on an individual industry. You're only going to do it if you take advantage of all your opportunities. It's a massive challenge. Sounds really easy. We've never done it. We've been at 30% of GDP roughly for the last 15 years. So to get to 40% of GDP, that means a third extra activity in this space, in the export space, which is a very significant leap in investment. And we'll cover that in the capital markets report that Bill and I will release early next year. But then even if that investment was available tomorrow, we have to ask ourselves, do we have the systems and regulatory environment in place that could actually process that investment and get it invested in growth in the New Zealand economy over a reasonably short period of time to have an impact in 12 years, which is when we set that target for. So people said 12 years, that's a long time. But you think about the challenge of attracting what is an extra, hundreds of billions of dollars of capital and processing it through our RMA and the other consents that we need, and actually getting it active in the New Zealand economy. And you'll see that 12 years is a very short period of time indeed. So that was the export markets one. And we followed that with innovation, which was launched at breakfast here in Wellington and underlined the importance of initiatives like Callaghan Innovation and the National Science Challenges. The work and skills, which is another whole challenge in its own, and we've got about 50-something initiatives going on there. The infrastructure work, which I think is reasonably accepted that the government has done a big step forward in the investment in infrastructure. And then today, which is the natural resources part of the story. And again, very, very important, because yes, we have lots of businesses that don't depend necessarily immediately on natural resources, but actually most do. Most New Zealand businesses depend one way or another on our natural resource endowment to be successful. And so we have this report which we've released in this morning. It brings to 289, the number of separate initiatives the government is working on across the business growth agenda. The 289 is a provisional figure because there are a few that actually are represented in more than one report. So I'll come back to you with a final number once we've released the 6th report. But it shows that it's actually a very broad agenda that we're working on, and the challenge is actually now the implementation and the momentum around that as quickly as we possibly can. And that's going to be very much the focus of the first 6 months of next year. But if I could stop there, my job is actually the MC, so I'd like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister to come up. Bill's going to specifically speak on the role of this and the BGA in the New Zealand's wider economic story, which I know is something he is naturally enough very passionate about. So please welcome Honourable Bill English.